Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is my match reaction to the match against Chelsea at Old Trafford on Saturday. Let's get started. We'll start with the lineup from the beginning. We'll start with the obvious of Yoro was benched for Harry Maguire. Initially, looking at that lineup, I thought it was harsh. I thought that Lenny Yoro's had a really good start to the season. Disappointed slightly that he'd been dropped to the bench, but at that moment in time, you've just got to put faith in the manager's decision. I was hoping he'd prove me wrong, and Harry Maguire did actually have a really good game, so I can't really argue with that choice. I think it's still a little bit disappointing for Lenny Yoro, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy that we won. We won against a good side as well. Chelsea have had a good start to the season. It's a step in the right direction for us as a team, so I'm happy with that. Obviously, Lamens has yet to start or play for Manchester United at all. Probably a big game to put him into. I know he's young and he's unproven. This is definitely the highest level he would have played at. Especially Chelsea are a good team, so it's probably a little bit unfair to get him in for that. Bayindir, I thought was good. He had a good game. It's not so much Bayindir's play that bothers me. It's because of the mistakes he's made in the past that teams already would think that they can come and get a result out of us, or that it's a little bit of a lack in confidence for us, and potentially our back four or back five would worry a little bit slightly with him there in goal. So it's all just a confidence thing that I think we need to replace. I do really like Altay Binder as a person, but I just don't think he's good enough to be a Manchester United goalkeeper. And the sooner that we can get that transition, it won't be easy because we've started the season with Bayindir in goal. It won't be easy to transition that at all. It'll probably be a little bit rocky. So I'm not surprised that Amrim's kept Bayindir in, especially for the last two games. Have been really difficult games. So I'm not sure what to expect, whether to see him soon or whether to see him kind of further in line, maybe around Christmas, after Christmas, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's the only really issues I had with the lineup. Obviously, Cunha back in the squad. Mason Mount back in the squad. Hopefully for a long time this time. That's probably the quickest we've had Mason Mount back in a long time when he's gone out injured. So yeah, apart from them two, I was happy with the lineup, and I wasn't disappointed with Harry Maguire starting because I know how good Harry Maguire can be for us. It's just that the Euro was left out. I was a little bit disappointed by, but we move on from that anyway. The first thing, obviously, I'm going to talk about is the Sanchez sending off. I thought up until that point we started really, really well. We looked aggressive. We looked like we wanted it more. We looked like we were ready to battle. We looked like a little bit more hungry than we did in the derby. So I was really happy with that up till then, and I think we were piling on the pressure. And it was only a matter of time before a chance was going to occur. Definite red card, no question about it. Šeško's flick on was really happy with. I thought that was a really good win, not an easy win at all. So I was really happy that he was able to get that flick on and feel like, I think that would have really helped his confidence throughout that game as well, that he's had that in a big moment. And exactly the same for Brian and Buemo. Without the two of them, and Bayindir's kick, let's not glaze over that either. I think with them two kicking on and getting something, so I know it wasn't a goal, but it was a massive turning point in the game for us. So I was really pleased with that, really pleased with the way we started. And yeah, I was happy with that for the first 5-10 minutes, up until the point that Sanchez got sent off. For the first goal, I think Ahmad's pass out to Mazarawi, was it that put the ball in? Mazarawi to Dorgu, then Dorgu heads it into Bruno. I thought really good football. I know that they had a man less, but I think sometimes it's more difficult when teams have a man less because they're slightly more defensive. It's what we've been looking for this season. That is what we've been looking for. We've been looking for the 4 passes that tear a team apart, that we can get in behind, that we can move. Our movement is good. We don't rush it. Bruno's in and around the box. I was really happy with that goal. Yeah, Bruno scoring 100 goals in 200 appearances, I think tells a lot into the player that Bruno Fernandes is. I know a lot of people in the fan base have very mixed opinions on Bruno Fernandes, but what we can't argue about is the contributions that he gives us as a team. I think 200 appearances and 100 goals for a midfielder is a very, very good stat, and he's a great player for us, and I hope that it continues. I think overall Bruno Fernandes had a good game. I think he was a lot more aggressive, a lot more hungry today than we've seen him so far this season. I think he played with a slight bit more belief today. I think he was the Old Trafford atmosphere riled Bruno up, and that's what we need. As I said in my previous videos, I think definitely, I know a lot more last season this was the case, but I saw it on Saturday as well, that when Bruno Fernandes is good, the rest of us around him tend to match the rest of the players around him tend to match that kind of energy, and he is the person that every single week should be bringing that energy into a game. So I guess we can say that he's fell short slightly in previous weeks to that, but this week I don't think we can complain. I don't think we can say that he didn't give it his all. He played well, he was passionate, he was aggressive, he was in and around the danger areas, he was tracking back. Yeah, I was really happy with Bruno Fernandes in a whole, and I'm really happy for him that he got the 100 goals in his 200th appearance as well. I think it's only what he deserves, and hopefully he can get some more. Just to highlight, I think I want to talk about Mazarawi. I think Mazarawi had a phenomenal game on Saturday. I think he was really, really good. We all know what Mazarawi is capable of anyway, and I think the best thing about Mazarawi is he will rise to the occasion. It's not always. I think he's a pretty consistent player anyway, and he's not been long back from injury as well, which says a lot about him as a player, that he can come in at this level and perform to the highest standard that he did on Saturday. I thought he was difficult to deal with. I thought he was very unpredictable for Chelsea players. They didn't quite know where or when he would be at what place. Yeah, I thought he had a really, really good game, really positive game. Especially that full-back position. I know I've said in my previous videos as well, that's an extremely difficult position, I think, for players to be in, especially in the system that Amorim plays, because they are the workhorses that are up and down each game, and he plays that really, really well, especially on Saturday. I thought he played it really well, and we could rely on him in areas on Saturday to get us the result that we needed, and he was involved with the first goal, I think. Yeah, I think he was involved with the first goal. I'm sure it was his cross that Dorgu headed in. I thought, he was an absolute credit to us on Saturday. I thought he was brilliant. And I know the stats going around about his aerial duels and his duels. I know every duel that he was in and involved in, he won that duel. And that's the standard that we need every single game. That's the standard now that we should set. And I hope that we can start picking a more consistent team based on this. Mazarawi, for me, there's no one that gets in above him after that performance. So next week, I hope that he can kick on from that, and he can take that and he can build confidence with that. And yeah, I think I'm really, really happy with that. Obviously, we have to talk about Casemiro and the game that he had on Saturday. I think the biggest thing about Casemiro is the experience that he offers us as a team, and his senior role that he should be portraying in our team. And I think he was probably the most immature on that pitch that day with the actions that he had. I think the first tackle on Enzo Fernandez, I think, was reckless. I think it wasn't needed. But that is Casemiro. Casemiro is reckless at times, and we all know that. I think his goal was good. I think he contributed towards the goal. I think he ruined his own game. I think he put pressure on us as a team afterwards, because it was Chelsea. It was 10 men to 10 men. I think it was difficult for us both. Yeah, I think it was just really, really disappointing from Casemiro on Saturday. As a more experienced player and a senior player, he should know better than that. I think potentially he could have been taken off a little bit quicker than he was. It was a very high emotional game. Stakes were high. We knew Chelsea were rattled from the sending off in the first place. It's always difficult in a game that the referee has sent someone off, because the referee is only looking for an excuse to level out the game. I think potentially on Casemiro's part, I don't think it was a yellow card, regardless, but I think at that point you shouldn't get involved in things like that. I think we had plenty of cover. There wasn't necessarily any immediate danger from that challenge, but we could argue that Casemiro was on the pitch for a little bit too long at that point anyway. I think when you've got someone like Kobbie Mainoo or Ugart sat on the bench and Casemiro's on a yellow card in such a tense game where the referee will look to even the game out, I think potentially we should have made that substitution a little bit earlier to save that. I know it really made it difficult for us in the second half especially, and especially just before half time is probably the worst game. It's probably the worst time to concede a goal or something big like that to happen in the opposition's favour. Just little things that I think we could have avoided. That right now I can sit and say little things that I think we could have avoided, but if we had have lost that game being 2-0 up because of the man that we got sent off, you would be absolutely raging. I would be raging at that. So these little things that have for once fell in our favour could have very easily, tables have turned, not fell in our favour, and we could have ended up drawing or losing that game. So I think little things like that we need to instill into players. But I'm sure Casemiro would be giving himself a hard time over that, and I'm sure Ruben Amorim will give him a hard time over that. I know he said in the press conference after that Casemiro is a lot more bothered about it than he is because of the result. It's very easy for us to sit here and say, well, he's sent off, blah, blah. Because of the result, we're okay with it, but it could have been very, very easily the other way around. So the substitutions then I think we should talk about. The only substitution I wasn't so sure on, I know in the beginning of the video I've obviously said that Lenny Yoro not being in the starting lineup was obviously a little bit disappointing, but that was the choice that was made, and I don't think in a game as tight as it was, especially when Chelsea would find themselves back in the game afterwards, that Harry Maguire should have been taken off. I think Harry Maguire was having a really good game. De Ligt was absolutely solid, by the way, on Saturday. I thought Luke Shaw had improved. I thought Patrick Dorgu had a good game. I think his decision-making was slightly better than it was the week before. I know the initial Casemiro goal, I know would have slightly liked Dorgu we had 2 or 3 players at the back post at that point. I know it ended up in a goal anyway, but if Dorgu could square that header back in, that would have potentially led to a goal straight there and then. I know it led to a goal anyway, but I'm just saying that's the kind of thing we need for him to improve. But all in all, I thought he had a good game. I thought the back 5 actually all had a really good game, to be fair. Mazarawi, obviously phenomenal. De Ligt was absolutely brick wall, I thought, on Saturday. Really difficult to get by him. The only thing I thought was a little bit shaky when Chelsea did score their goal was obviously Maguire had been taken off by that point and Lenny Yoro had been brought on, which the goal, Chalobah's goal, was Lenny Yoro's man. You could see from that Chalobah had just taken the step back. Lenny Yoro wasn't so aware of his surroundings at that point. I know Ahmad was then behind Chalobah, which maybe could have been communicated a little bit better, but I'm not on the pitch. I'm not sure what the communication was at that point. It was just really disappointing, I thought, to let that goal in, especially in the manner it was. I think we're really soft with that as a team. We're really bad in and around our own box, like with the clearances and set pieces and stuff like that. I think we really, really need to improve, and I'm not sure whether it's a personal type of thing with the players or whether it could be communicated slightly better, or the goalkeeper could command his box slightly better, or I'm really not sure. But what I do know is in that situation, Harry Maguire is probably one of the top defenders in the league at clearing that ball out from a set piece or from a cross or that type of thing. So yeah, I just thought it was disappointing that Harry Maguire was taken off in such a tight game. I thought there wasn't really any need for it. I think it's only fair that we talk about the Bayındır save towards the end of the game. I think could have easily been a goal. I think I was really, really, really impressed with that save, actually, from the cross coming in at such a high pace and the Chelsea's front man to get that nick on the ball that he had. I thought it was probably a really difficult save for Bayındır to make, but he did, and albeit kept us in the game at that point. Overall, I thought he had a good game. I thought he was good for Bayındır's standard. I thought he was good for a Manchester United goalkeeper standard. He didn't look particularly worrying at any point. He didn't look like he couldn't play the ball with his feet. He didn't look like he was positioned badly at any point. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that in terms of our goalkeeper on Saturday. Will just be interesting to see how Amorim can transition the keepers over eventually. Good news that Matheus Cunha and Mason Mount were back on the bench. I know they both ended up coming on. towards the end of the game. I thought Cunha looked good. It was just a shame that the game was a little bit stretched at that point. I think both teams were starting to tire. The pitch is a very big pitch at Old Trafford. We know that. It just seemed it was kind of end to end at one point. Could have gone either way. I think we could have scored one or two more. It was difficult for Cunha because when he was driving up there, we didn't exactly have the legs to go up with him. But I thought he made a good impact when he came on. Mason Mount as well, I think he contributes a good bit to a game like that. When legs are starting to tire, he can come in, he can do the runs, and he can get in between, he can break up the passing, he can just kind of be a nuisance, I guess, to the other team when legs are starting to tire. He did what was asked of him. I thought he kept it simple. We know that he's going to love it. He's going to love that opportunity against Chelsea. I was pretty pleased with him when he came back on, and I just hope now that they can both build from that, and especially Mason Mount. I think this is the quickest he's came back in a long time from an injury, so I hope that he can improve in terms of that now, and we get him back for a long period of time, because what we have seen of him this season whilst he's been fit is an improvement. I've really enjoyed watching him. I think that he's a good player, and I hope that he can contribute to us. Obviously, the elephant in the room was Garnacho coming back to Manchester United. I know that I knew. In my previous videos, obviously I've spoken about him coming back and what the situation would be. I did say that I don't think he'll come on. Regardless of, obviously, Sanchez being sent off, I still didn't think he'd come on. Potentially might have come on, but it wouldn't be for a very long time, I don't think it was the right game for him to come into. I think I was interested by the response around Old Trafford and how the Manchester United fans would react to him, and my reaction is quite hostile. I'm not interested in him at all. I don't like him as a person. I think he was very disrespectful towards the club. I think he was disrespectful towards the fans, who have always stood by him and were always loyal towards him and supported him in everything he did. I think he was a good player for us. Good. I think he had outstanding moments for us. All in all, don't think he was amazing. I don't think we'll miss him. And yeah, attitude-wise, he's Chelsea's problem now, in my opinion. But yeah, I was not going to say pleased by the reaction around Old Trafford, but I was not surprised and not a fan of him myself. And I think the games that he was playing towards the end of the season, if you play them games, that's the consequence of that. Unfortunately, he didn't show much support or loyalty towards us towards the end, so why should we do the same now? He's certainly not he'll never be a Manchester United legend, and I, for one, I'm very glad he's gone. I think the Amorim post-match press conference was good. I thought he wasn't overall ecstatic by the result, but he never will be because of the run of games we've had up to now. He was questioned on the mentality of the players, and obviously because we went down to 10 men as well. He was questioned on the mentality of how we as a team went from that, and we transitioned from absolutely controlling the game to then having to manage the game as a team, which we haven't really been very good at for a long time. And he was pleased with that. He said he was pleased with that, and he said that hopefully that helps with the mentality of the players. They know that they can dig deep. They know that this aggression is in there. It's just the consistency that we need now to really kick on from this, and hopefully this is our turning point now within this season. But he's not an idiot. We all know he's not an idiot. Some of us might not agree with the decisions he makes. We know that. But we know as a manager, he's very switched on. He can see what we can see to some extent. He can see more than what we can see in other extents. He knows that the result right now doesn't really matter because of what we're fighting for. He has said in that himself that he knows that right now we cannot turn around from this as a team and go, wow, yeah, we won a game, let's chill. He's actually said that in the press conference. What he said is, what really matters now is how we build from this result and how we can get our next result on the same kind of path. If we can go from the winning this week against Chelsea, which is an extremely good result, how we can build from that and we can get the results that we need following on from this. That's the real challenge, I think, for us as a team, It's not the games that we do win, it's the games that we follow on from this. We need to have a run of games now. I really do think that. We need to use everything that we used on Saturday and really build that and get the confidence back. That's what we cannot seem to do. That's what every manager has struggled to do, is to get these players to not just play when the manager's on the brink of being on the sack, getting the sack. We need these players to play all the time and consistently. And hopefully, I know it seems a little bit like deja vu, but Amorim can see that himself. So I'm hoping that'll improve. And I think overall, I'm really pleased with Saturday. I think not really pleased with it. I know Chelsea were the better team in the second half and we made it difficult for ourselves, but an individual error from Casemiro has made that result or that game a really difficult one. And I think it shouldn't go unnoticed from fans that, yeah, that was a difficult game in the second half. But I don't think it should go unnoticed that we did dig deep and we had to play an ugly game. We had to. The momentum massively shifted against us. One, when Casemiro was sent off, and two, when they scored that first goal. I think we do need to give a little bit of credit where credit is due at the minute and just say that, yeah, it wasn't glamorous. We made it difficult. Amorim's come out and said that himself. We've made it difficult. Nothing could change. The players dug deep. The players' mentality didn't change. We won the game and it was against a good side. So hopefully we should build on from that now. I think we all just need to stay a little bit positive and enjoy it for what it is. We don't get many wins as a Manchester United fan, especially under Ruben Amorim. We should take this for what it is and actually celebrate it. We deserve something to celebrate. Just wanted to bring up as well, obviously Amorim was questioned about Bruno Fernandes getting his 100th goal and 200th appearance. The person that asked the question has obviously mentioned that Bruno Fernandes is playing deeper, and Ruben Amorim's come out and said that he knows that. He understands that Bruno Fernandes is playing deeper and sometimes doesn't allow him to be the main man in the game, were his words exactly. But Ruben Amorim is saying that as a captain and the leader that he thinks Bruno Fernandes is, he needs to step into them areas where we might need him a little bit more. Which I understand that. I do understand that. I know it's frustrating as fans that we have to watch Bruno Fernandes in a deep position when we know how good he is behind the striker. We know what he can offer. We know his short phase as a player really, really, really good. We know he can spray the ball wherever he needs to. We know he can move the ball quickly. We know he can take shots. We know he can be a danger in and around the opponent's box. But he has said that as a person that he needs in his system, he wants Bruno to be that anchor further back. And I do understand that. I just wish we could have someone else of that calibre to be able to do that job. That Bruno Fernandes then can be freed to go into the forward role. That's all I wish. But then you're asking the question of, well, who do we drop for that? And it's just a can of worms that I'm not really sure of, and I really don't know how it will unfold. But the fact that he's been open and honest about it, I respect, and he knows that we want Bruno Fernandes further up the pitch. He wants that himself in a respect, but he also relies on him really heavily in the areas that he feels that we need him to be. So it's a difficult situation, it really is. Bruno Fernandes did play higher up yesterday. I know he was still in the same role that he has been, but I thought it was a lot more in and around the danger, which was really refreshing to see. And De Ligt was in and around the danger as well. I thought De Ligt had a really good game in that midfield role. I know he wasn't in the midfield role, but he was acting in the midfield role, and it was reassuring that we were putting so many bodies in and around the box, and everyone was playing very positively on Saturday, which I was pleased about. So there we are. That is my match reaction to the match on Saturday at Old Trafford against Chelsea. 2-1, Manchester United beat Chelsea at home. Hopefully we build on from this, and I will see you guys later on in the week to look into next week's fixtures. Hope you've all had a lovely weekend. I hope that everyone is celebrating the win. I hope that everyone could go into work that little bit happier, or wherever we may be going into next week. I just hope that we can build from that and things improve. Thanks for watching.